Okay, let's dive right into this. For literally decades, the almighty password has been the undisputed gatekeeper of our entire online world. You know the drill, right? One long string of characters, memorized, typed over and over, inevitably forgotten, and then, frustratingly reset. It's a deeply ingrained digital ritual for all of us. But what if I told you that era is officially coming to a close? Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to unpack a massive shift in the tech landscape, the death of the password, and exactly how Microsoft is paving the way for a totally passwordless future.
I mean, we all have that daily habit, don't we? Memorizing those character strings, or maybe just relying on a single master password to unlock a vault of our most sensitive data. But think about this. What happens when that very key, the one thing separating you from all your important online stuff, actually becomes your biggest structural vulnerability? That's the core issue driving this industry-wide shift. We're not just talking about some minor software update here. Oh no, we're talking about a fundamental, ground-up transformation in how we prove we are who we say we are on the internet.
So if that sounds a bit disruptive, don't worry, we've got you covered. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with Microsoft's decisive move to kill the password, then look at the human psychology behind why passwords fail us. After that, we'll explore the biometric security solution, examine the broader industry trend, and finally, wrap up with exactly how you can prepare for 2026.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Microsoft kills the password. Specifically, we're looking at the end of master passwords in their Edge browser.
Microsoft isn't just flipping a switch overnight. This is a highly strategic, multi-year initiative. Remember last year? They actually started shifting their Authenticator app to passwordless authentication. But the real shakeup? That happens in Edge. In late February 2026, Microsoft is going to completely remove the ability to create new master passwords natively within the browser itself. Now, if you already have one, you do get a short grace period. But seriously, mark your calendars for June 4, 2026. That is the hard deadline. Legacy master passwords will be entirely phased out. Done. You simply won't be able to use them to unlock your saved credentials in Edge anymore. And I think this brilliantly illustrates just how jarring this is going to be for a lot of people. Ignaz Valancius, who's the VP of Engineering at NordPass, literally calls this a cold turkey transition. For folks who've relied on a master password for years, waking up one day to find that option simply gone, well, it's going to be a shock for sure. It's a huge habit change. But as you'll see, it's absolutely a necessary one. Which brings us nicely to Section 2, the human password problem. We really need to ask why your shortcuts are actually a major security risk. So why is Microsoft forcing this cold turkey transition? Well, the case against passwords isn't some abstract theoretical computer science puzzle. Not at all. It's entirely behavioral. Human nature is the weak link here. Think about it. If you're responsible for keeping track of dozens or even hundreds of credentials, you're going to take shortcuts. It's just what we do. We reuse the exact same password across multiple services, from our highly secure banking app right down to some random forum we signed up for like 5 years ago. And notice the stark contrast here between our mental gymnastics and actual reality. We somehow think that making slight changes, maybe capitalizing one letter, adding an exclamation point, or slapping a 1 at the end of our favorite password gives us meaningful protection. That's the illusion. The reality? It's much harsher. The vulnerability is structural. If a hacker breaches one obscure, poorly secured service and gets that slightly tweaked password, boom, it acts as a master key. They now have the exact blueprint to unlock your entire digital life across almost all of your accounts. So, how do we fix the problem that's literally caused by human nature? Simple. We remove the human memory element entirely. Let's move to Section 4. Actually, scratch that. Section 3, the biometric security solution, tying access to your physical self. Microsoft's answer to all this is biometric authentication. If you want to use Edge to save your credentials after that 2026 cutoff, you're going to access them using a system like Windows Hello. This fundamentally changes the security model. Instead of relying on something you know, like a typed string of characters that can easily be guessed or stolen, it relies on something you are and something you have. It binds authentication directly to your physical device and your actual physical body, using a PIN, a fingerprint scan, or facial recognition. And the crucial point really lands when you look at this vulnerability gap. If a hacker steals your master password in a data breach somewhere, they can use it from a basement on the exact opposite side of the planet anytime they want. But what if they somehow compromise your biometric data? It is completely useless to them, literally worthless, unless they also break into your house and physically steal your specific laptop or phone.
You're basically trading a globally exploitable vulnerability for a locally bound physical key. Huge difference.
Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. Handing over a face scan or a fingerprint, it feels kind of intrusive, right? This transition is absolutely going to be contentious for some, and that's because it hits right on the psychology of control. Passwords just feel familiar. We select them, we feel a sense of ownership over them, we recall them from memory. Biometrics strip away that illusion of user control. It feels less like you are actively unlocking the door, and a bit more like the machine is deciding whether or not it's going to let you in. But it's super important to remember here. When the credentials are your face or your fingerprint, incredible convenience and top-tier security, they're no longer mutually exclusive. You get both.
And honestly, it's not just Microsoft pushing this. That takes us to Section 4, the broader passwordless trend, because Microsoft is definitely not acting alone here.
Security experts have been shouting about the flaws of passwords for literally decades. But as we know, arguments don't force change. Massive platforms do. And the entire infrastructure keeping passwords alive is being steadily dismantled across the whole tech industry. We're seeing Apple push Face ID everywhere. Google is deeply integrating passkeys. We've got the open web authent standard gaining massive traction. And even single sign-on, using your Google, Apple, or Facebook account to log into other sites, is already massively reducing the number of standalone passwords you have to juggle every day.
And we can already see how this builds into actual real-world results. According to research from NordPass, the shift is already happening completely naturally. Just look at this drop. In 2024, the average person was juggling around 168 personal passwords, but by 2026, that number is projected to drop to 120. Our digital keychains are physically shrinking before our eyes.
And you know what? It's even more pronounced in the workplace. 67. That is the new projected average for work-related credentials in 2026, which is down significantly from 87. And here's the real kicker. That drop isn't because employees suddenly went out and learned better password hygiene. No way! It is entirely because the underlying systems are changing. The tech giants are forcing the shift from the top down. So where does all this leave you? Let's move to our final section, preparing for June 2026. Let's talk about what you actually need to do next. If you use Microsoft Edge's built-in password manager, your instructions are pretty straightforward. Before that June 4th, 2026 deadline, you absolutely must set up Windows Hello. You'll need to configure a PIN, a facial scan, or a fingerprint to access your saved passwords. That's going to be your new front door. Now, if you're firmly attached to the whole master password concept and you absolutely refuse to use biometrics, hey, don't panic. Master passwords aren't dead everywhere. They just won't live natively inside the Edge browser anymore. You can absolutely just migrate your credentials over to a third-party manager, like 1Password, Bitwarden, or NordPass. Those services are going to remain completely unaffected by Microsoft's browser-level changes.
The infrastructure that made passwords so essential is literally being torn down right before our eyes. And I think it leaves us with this final, really fascinating thought from our source material. Passwords don't go away due to their own failure. I mean, we've known they were flawed for decades. They perish when something vastly better comes along at scale. Microsoft, Apple, and Google have finally built that better system. So the only question left for you is, are you ready to let go?